You know, the United States was the world superpower, both respected and feared. Wartime presidents like FDR, Eisenhower, and JFK said what they meant and meant what they said. Fast forward to the Obama administration. Clueless on the world stage, completely clueless on the war front. President Obama has no war strategy, a feckless and fickle foreign policy, and a paper tiger image, all the while threatening just about everybody and going after just about nobody. Never meaning what he says or saying what he means. His policies are destroying our country, putting our troops in harm's way, and endangering America's security. His bloviating is creating ill will around the world. Pity the next president of the United States. Now, the skirmish hasn't even begun between Russia and Ukraine, yet President Obama runs out to a hastily arranged press conference last night to get in the middle of the fight, warning Russia that there will be costs for any Russian military intervention. Take a listen.
Indeed, the United States will stand with the international community in affirming that there will be costs for any military intervention in Ukraine.
Really, Mr. President? What are you going to do? Your red lines become pink lines, which in the end make us look completely yellow. And just this afternoon, Mr. President, you had a call with President Putin, where you told Putin that his actions would negatively impact Russia's standing in the international community. Seriously? You're worried about Russia's standing in the international community? Why don't you worry about your own, which is a mess? And by the way, who made you the world's cop? Being dictator in the United States doesn't make you king of the world. What is it about you? Is it your ego? You don't even have a dog in that fight. Don't you have enough to do here at home? You can't win a war, and yet you can't wait to get in the middle of someone else's. Come on now. Is it those war credentials that you earned fighting the Taliban in Afghanistan after dithering for months, deciding on a troop surge, and then telling the enemy your withdrawal date? It's Clueless. Some military strategy, one apparently even you didn't believe, according to your then Secretary of Defense, Robert Gates. So why are you scrapping for a fight? For what? Your red lines, your threats, your foreign policy, it's all full of hot air. It's actually embarrassing. Now, you don't have a foreign policy and everybody knows it. Have you already forgotten that you and hapless Hagel just announced this week you were reducing the size of the military to pre-World War II levels, while the rest of the world is on the march, increasing the size of their military? And by the way, what does a pre-World War II level mean? Everyone going to be flying around in a prop plane? Then for sure we'll never be able to protect our troops around the world, as in Benghazi. Hell, why not go back to F-Troop?
Drilling and fighting, get them down, they know their morale can't droop. As long as they all relax in town before they resume with a bang and a boom. F-Troop!
Clueless. And what's with hapless Hagel, one of two senators voting against sanctioning Iran, who's actually said on Al Jazeera the United States was the world bully? Who are you? And with the advancement of global terrorism, the black al-Qaeda flag flying over Fallujah in Iraq, with the hatred of America at an all-time high, with Russia aligned with Syria and Iran, you geniuses decide to make drastic cuts in the military? And what's with you and Putin? At least Putin got his parliament to give him permission to use troops in the Ukraine. Your own Congress wouldn't back you when you were dithering back and forth. You're in Syria, you're out of Syria, you're in, you're out. And you threatening Putin, isn't he the guy that you engaged to broker a deal with Syria? Relying on his credibility to tell you that Syria would eliminate its chemical weapons and therefore eliminate the need for your embarrassing limited strike? And speaking of Putin, you begged him to return that traitor Edward Snowden, you know, the one who told us the truth after your director of national intelligence, Clueless Clapper, perjured himself and lied before Congress. And speaking of Syria, why did you wait for the blood of 100,000 innocent civilians to be spilled on the sands of Syria before you even threatened to act? Yet in Ukraine, they haven't even started the fighting and you want to get in the middle of it. By the way, aren't you supposed to be a pacifist? Did you forget you won the Nobel Peace Prize? Mr. President, everyone is laughing at us. You're like a schoolyard bully. No one's afraid of you. Putin sure as hell isn't. He knows you're no Eisenhower, no FDR, and no JFK. He's a former high-ranking KGB. He's got all the military credentials he needs. And what might your military credentials be, Mr. Commander-in-Chief?